into presentations. And our first, we're going to go out of order a little bit. Our first presentation is going to be by Ryan Stachuk. He's the natural resources educator from Cornell Cooperative Extension. He's going to talk to us about taking a closer look at the new New York State Stormwater Design Manual.
Yeah.
Take it away.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, and I'm going to speak right into this owl because there's probably people online that are listening. And so I know that if we direct our voices towards there, it's a little more clear on the other end. But I took the liberty of changing the title to taking a closer look at the draft New York State Stormwater Design Manual because it's maybe unclear to some people about the different design manuals that are out there. And so I hope that that's more clear later on. Before I go into that, there's 1 hour of training available to any planning or zoning board members. If you want to print your name on this clipboard sign-in sheet, I will send out that information later and I can answer any questions about that later on too. I work for Cornell Cooperative Extension as the environmental educator serving Seneca County, Cayuga County, and Schuyler counties. But today, because we're in Seneca County, it's my favorite county to work. So I was asked to be a part of this and I appreciate the opportunity to teach and educate, which is our mission at Cornell Cooperative Extension. Real basic stuff. I hope I may be boring people with this information, but it's really, really important stuff. Pre-development versus post-development. When we have a clicker, great. When this is a model of a little ecosystem that's not been developed. And when the water comes down, you'll see that there's these arrows down here that indicate how much runoff is or where the water is going in relationship to the amount of water that's coming down in the rain. And you'll notice that surface runoff is certainly natural, right? But what happens when we develop a property is that the amount of surface water increases, and that's our main concern. And when we're talking about stormwater, so development certainly changes how water acts on a landscape. And just for reference, if we have 1 acre of impervious surface, so think of a rooftop or maybe it's a parking lot, 1 acre of impervious cover equals about 1 million gallons of runoff. So that's just to kind of give some context. And an acre is about 208 by 208 feet or 43,560 square feet. But we're talking about this New York State Stormwater Management Design Manual. There's 2 of them that you can find online with a simple Google search. This one is from 2015. This is the one that we are referencing across New York State. The design manual is prepared to provide standards for the design of stormwater management practices, also known as SMPs throughout New York State, to basically reduce the impacts of urban stormwater runoff. The manual is intended to establish specifications for these stormwater pollution prevention plans. So many people hear about those often. So hopefully you'll have a little more context later on. Again, this is the 2015 plan. The one I like to reference for the last year and a half is the New York State Stormwater Draft Manual that you can find online. That's May 2022. This is a draft because it has not gone into effect because the New York State DEC is delaying the effort to address climate change in New York State. It is expected, it may be finalized in 2025 to coincide with the Speedy's general permit updates that are due in early 2025. This is literally from the DEC out of their mouths. We want to make it clear that what I'm talking about and I'm referencing today is the draft manual from 2022. I like this manual, but it is intended for audiences that are generally engineers and other professionals, which may include people in this building, right, in this room and online, who are engaged in the design of stormwater treatment facilities for new developments, right?
So sorry.
You bet. What's up?
Pause for just a second
I'm
because I think our Zoom folks are not seeing the presentation. Am I correct? Correct. Okay. We're going to log in with the computer that's connected to the projector and share the screen. And he'll pick right back up. You won't have missed anything. 1 acre equals 1,000,000 gallons. That's pretty impressive. 2 manuals to go get online. Yes.
I get extra time now. You get extra time, Michelle.
It's all the same.
Pardon me?
I know your email.
Okay. It says CWIO meeting now, start. How is everybody today? Just expecting a big storm later on, I think, right? How are you? Welcome. I'll pass this around. Is anybody here for, to sign up for the 1-hour training? I'll pass this around. Dave. You already got this. I have Dave on here, Carl.
Yeah.
Carl's on it. Ray, Kate. Are you? Wow. You do not. Yeah, that's okay. So there's a couple different there. Got it?
Oops. Okay. Multiple participants can share. Okay.
Take this opportunity to pitch Liz's Cayuga Lake Network. They're gonna have their conference on Thursday, June 20th, from 3:30 to 6:30 p.m. with a wonderful speakers. And I don't know, Liz, if you were gonna talk about this later on.
Yeah, that's great. Well, or we can do it now.
We're back on.
Oh, we're sorry, time's up.
Thank you for your patience.
And you're working. Probably having content.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Yeah. Good.
I think we're back on. We back? Are we ready?
Yes.
All right. The manual is intended for professionals who are engaged with stormwater treatment. That could be
Oh, now he's gonna have to.
you advance it. Oh, too much. Okay. Municipal leaders. Maybe some of you are municipal leaders right now. This could apply to planning board members. This could, maybe there's staff at your municipalities that this would apply for, or maybe you hire consultants within your communities. So we're a very broad range of audience here throughout Seneca County, maybe some other counties. And so really, I'm trying to bring awareness to the members of this organization, CWIO, about these manuals and this manual in particular, because I think it's a really good resource and a great learning resource. Go. Next slide. Next. I can talk more about this slide if you'd like. A lot. Yeah, so why do we even do this, right? So why do we do this? So it's the EPA. Like, why do we care about stormwater? Well, the EPA in 1987, not known as the most progressive era in environmental politics, was the Clean Water Act had amendments to it. And the federal government said you have to manage stormwater management. And so at the state level, the New York State DEC implements those mandates through the EPA. So basically, when we have this program here called a Speedies permit in New York State, and the New York State DEC issues general permits to for disturbances basically that are more than 1 acre. okay? So if you're gonna disturb more than an acre, you have to get these speedies permits. There's other issues too, with other municipalities that have their own governance structure that they choose to enact, but not in this county. So if you have this, then you have to get a construction permit. And if you have a construction permit, one of the requirements are that you have to develop a stormwater pollution prevention plan, or a SWIP. They have to be developed to manage the runoff and control erosion on the site. So with that in mind, this manual is intended to establish specifications for practices that are part of that SWIP. So engineers, consultants, people that want to implement the SWIP can use this manual to help them out. So I'm trying to tie it all together here. So you can use this in reviewing. So planning boards, if you're reviewing site plans, you can ask about the SWIP and talk and have a conversation with applicants about these things, right? So again, municipal leaders, planning board members, these are good ideas to have when it comes to managing stormwater. It's a great resource for people. They're both of these, the one that we're using right now in 2015 and the draft that's dated May 22, they are organized by chapters. So you can use them as a resource to reference. You don't have to, don't read this from, start to finish. It's hundreds of pages long. It might be boring, but it's a great resource. So for example, if you want to know about standard stormwater management practices, there's a chapter about that in the draft. If you want to learn about green infrastructure practices, you can go to chapter 5 in the 2015. If you want to learn about unified stormwater sizing criteria because you have nothing else to do, there's a chapter for that in both of the design manuals. And if you want to learn about runoff reduction techniques, it's in chapter 5 of the draft, which is kind of part of the title of my presentation. The chapter provides planning and design for runoff approaches and specifications acceptable for runoff reduction practices, and basically includes these topics, right? Planning for runoff reduction, and then runoff reduction techniques. So this is going to be 5.1, 5.2, and 5.3 when you're reading the manual. So you got to become a little comfortable with these manuals. 5.1, planning of runoff reduction. These are the types of sections within them. Preservation of undisturbed areas, preservation of buffers, reduction of clearing and grading areas, locating development in less sensitive areas, open space design, soil restoration. These are things that we talk about sometimes in the planning and zoning departments when you're talking about stormwater. Here they are in one resource for you to be able to look at. The next section is planning and runoff reduction, reduction of impervious cover, right? Going back to that one slide, if we have impervious cover, the water can't get through it. How do we reduce that? There's lots of ways to do that. We can reduce how many roads we're designing and building, how many sidewalks, driveways, cul-de-sacs, the building footprint, right? The parking area reduction. Lots of these are explored within the design manual for you to be able to use as a resource. In the last section I'm going to talk about today, the runoff reduction techniques, the sections presents a series of runoff principles and practices to be incorporated in the site design. So think of a site for a parcel, right? Right. The great thing about this book is that there's fact sheets for each of these techniques that you can go and print off and look at just for each of these different principles. So here are some other techniques for runoff reduction. These are ideas that you can talk to people within your communities about on how you can reduce runoff in your community. Conservation of natural areas, tree planting, tree pits, and tree trenches. People talk about these things. Maybe they don't know exactly how they're designed. This manual details those. Vegetated swales, right? Rain gardens. People love to talk about rain gardens, but if you look at how they're built, that's the most important. You want to get the water to go inside of the design, and that means you have to do construction. You have to dig in. There's a system in place for that. So all of these techniques are inside of these manuals, and they're easy to read, right? So for example, you'll find this on a page. how to plant a tree. It's nice pictures to look at. It gives you designs. I call these typicals. You'll see them in engineering plans. Now it's working. This is another example about sheet flow. This is within that chapter. Easy to read, follow along. They make nice graphics. This is an example of a fact sheet you can find within these design manuals. This is for disconnection of a rooftop runoff. Here's another example of a fact sheet about a vegetated swale, right? So it gives you some information on how to talk about these things with applicants, neighbors, friends that want to know more about them. Here's a typical of a rain garden. Really important information. I like to read these things and know what's underground. You don't see this stuff, but it's important to communicate to people that maybe live around the lake. Here's what a rain garden is. That's what I got. That was my 10 minutes. And then maybe we'll have a question and answer later on.
No, go ahead and take some questions now or
Oh.
we'll switch out the.
We're gonna do a question and answer. I have copies of
Yeah.
this. How can I help you? I feel like I'm at the Sphere, at the new Las Vegas Sphere with this. Yes, how can I help you?
Who are you?
Oh, I'm Ryan Stachok.
I missed that.
Okay, yep. And I work with Cornell Cooperative Extension of Seneca County, Cayuga County, and Schuyler counties.
Thanks.
You bet. That's an easy one.
Are these presentations gonna be available?
Yes, they will be available on our website, probably about 3 weeks or less.
Okay.
Yep.
Great.
All right.
No other questions, right? Yes, couple more.
How surfaces work?
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, the question is, how do permeable surfaces work? The concept is, as the rain falls, the permeable surface will allow the water to go through the materials. So for example, there's permeable pavers that you could purchase. And the design of those permeable pavers that maybe you would use on a sidewalk or in a driveway or on a parking area, they are designed to where the water can go through the permeable paver and enter into the subgrade, which is usually clean stone that allows for water to kind of fill in the area. Does that make sense? There's also permeable porous now. There's lots of pavement that's really common.
When you said that 1 acre disturbed, are you talking about like an acre lot, somebody puts a house on it, is that 1 acre? Or are we talking about 1 acre actually being worked on?
The question was about what an acre is. The dimensions of an acre are about 43,000 square feet. 1 acre of impervious area. So I used an example. So as an example of maybe a parking lot, if you were to pave over 1 acre, right? That 1 acre, according to the New York State DEC, will generate about 1 million gallons of runoff per year. Is that your question?
No, actually, so if somebody buys an acre lot and puts a house on it,
Yes.
is that considered an acre of disturbance?
No, that would be up to your municipal, whoever's governing on how they're going to look at and cover with on the site. So I can't speak exactly. I know that in the town that I live in, we would allow for up to 25% development on a parcel, right? So each municipality is going to be different. I can't speak to every municipality here. Does that answer your question? Okay.
So a speedies is only required if there's an acre of disturbance?
It depends on the community that you live in. And so each community is going to be different because there might be rules and regulations that they choose to govern themselves with. In general, if you disturb more than 1 acre of soil in New York State, I would encourage you, unless you have some, if you don't know, I would make a phone call to somebody to make sure that you do not break the law.
Okay, so the speedies permit is driven by the zone.
Yeah.
Stormwater.
stormwater law.
Yes, well,
or-
I don't want to get into,
and-
you know what I really don't want to get too much into the weeds, but if you're interested in, I'm gonna have another one of these talks that's gonna be longer on June 13th here with before the Seneca County Planning Board. Yeah, if there's any questions, feel free to reach out to me that way.
And he'll be here the whole rest of the evening, so you can,
Oh.
afternoon, if you wanna get to him then. Okay, so, I neglected to do introductions. We'll do that after you're introduced to all the speakers. I apologize for that, but we'll move right along with our talk since we're in that flow now. So our next presenter, will be Erin Parazzini. Surprise, surprise, you're up. She's with the, she is the lead person for the Soil and Water, Conservation District in Seneca County, and she will be talking to us about. I don't have your title.
Just
Take it away.
our project highlights. So, as Roxy just said, I'm Erin Parazzini. I'm the district manager for Seneca County Soil and Water. They had asked me to do a project highlight presentation, and just like your children, you can't pick one. So I decided that I would just do the projects that we've completed over the last 2 years.
Well, actually work for you, Aaron?
I don't know.
Oh,
I'm gonna try, yes.
Full freedom of the,
Yeah, it did.
oh,
I think it did, unless you hit the button at the same time I did. So just so you all know, I think, because we're all coming from, different areas throughout the watershed, so there's soil and water districts in each county in New York State. We all kind of operate a little bit differently based on our local needs. We all basically have the same, mission and goals, which is to protect the natural resources within the county that we have jurisdiction within. And I say jurisdiction, we're not regulatory, we don't have jurisdiction, but the areas that we cover. So for Seneca County Soil and Water, I kind of break our responsibilities and our programs into 3 different categories: municipal and private landowners, agriculture, and education. So over the last 2 years, we have a hydro seeder that is free of charge. We go out to all municipalities and we'll use that hydro seeder to hydro seed road ditches that were cleaned out, water and sewer lines that were installed, and then any of our projects that we've done. Is there any way to get rid of that?
That's
Because
fine.
we're missing.
Yeah, that, yeah.
Oh, perfect. So, like I said, we get grant funding, to buy the hydro seeding supplies. Our staff goes out and does the hydro seeding free of charge to all of the municipalities. So in 2022, we completed almost 4 acres of hydro seeding and 7.5 acres in 2023. Over the last 2 years, we did 4 roadway stabilization projects in the Cayuga Lake watershed that covered almost 2,500 linear feet. We install this rock when the road ditch is eroding because it will slow the water down, and it will keep the soil in place and capture that sediment from preventing it from going into Cayuga Lake. We'll also help municipalities with culvert assessments and designs. We've done about 10 of those over the last couple of years. We actually got a grant through New York State DEC's CWIP program. We hired an engineer to do a hydrologic study on a county road culvert that has routinely flooded. So the engineers did an assessment on that culvert, came up with the proper size of what culvert should go there. And then we've been working with the highway department to try and get a New York State Bridge New York grant for that, to help replace that culvert pipe. In Seneca County, we have 2 aquatic harvesters. So we run the aquatic vegetation control program. In 2022, we had some equipment failures, so we weren't able to harvest in Cayuga Lake, but we did harvest 350 tons of aquatic vegetation out of the canal and over 600 tons out of the canal and Cayuga Lake, northern Cayuga Lake combined. We do some stream bank stabilization work. So over the last couple of years, we did a project in the town of Fayette. The landowner had called us. This is the one on the left. I don't know how that pointer works. So the one on the left, the landowner had called us. They were concerned about their this intermittent stream that was eroding and potentially undermining their lake cottage. So we obtained a grant to come and install some rock riprap in there, about 300 feet. And there, just upstream from there, there was is a water main that goes to Seneca Falls that was exposed. So this will hopefully protect the cottage, the water main, but also prevent more sediment from going into Cayuga Lake. So we also did a project in the town of Seneca Falls, which consisted of 100 feet of rock riprap stabilization. This bank was eroding, and it was starting to get close to the foundation of a local church. We did a stream restoration project in the town of Romulus on a Finger Lakes Land Trust property. This is at the Van Riper Conservation Area. We worked with the Land Trust and Fish and Wildlife Service to come up with a more natural design than just throwing rock into the ditch, into the stream. And so Fish and Wildlife came up with this design for these log step structures, which brought the bed of the stream bed elevation up quite a bit to a more natural looking design. It's actually quite interesting, and this is on public property on the Finger Lakes Land Trust property, and there's a hiking trail that goes right past here. So if you're interested, you can go out and see this project in person. We also were involved in a stormwater basin that was installed in the town of Varick. We were contacted by some lakefront property owners that kept getting some routine flooding with all the storm events that we've had. So we worked with the landowners and the vineyard owner to install a stormwater basin that would capture about 17 acres of 17-acre watershed. It collects that water, retains it, and then will release it at a slower rate, which will help reduce some flooding issues for the lakefront owners. So we do a lot of ag work with our farm producers. All of those projects that we work on, the BMP, best management practices that we install, we utilize the New York State Ag and Markets Ag Environmental Management Program, or we call it the AIM program. So it's a statewide program. It's locally led and implemented. It's voluntary, but it's incentive based. So if producers want to implement best management practices or get grant funding, they need to participate in this program. So we will work with the farmer. We'll go through a questionnaire, a series of worksheets. We'll develop a plan. And then once that plan is developed and we prioritize the projects, Soil and Water will look for implementation funding. If we receive that funding, then we'll work through that process to help get that BMP implemented. And then we continue to evaluate, did what we do work? Does it need maybe some improvements? And we'll continue through that process. So these are examples of heavy use area installations that we had done. So we've done 3 of them in the last 2 years for beef producers. So these are areas, heavy use areas are areas that are utilized for feeding the animals during the winter months or when they're not out on pasture. So they get beat down pretty heavily. So they need to be protected. Each one of these has then, as Brian was talking about, this is an impervious surface. So you have to collect the water that comes off from that area. It's got nutrients in it from the manure. So each one of these cement areas has a VTA, a vegetated treatment area. So it will collect that water that comes off from there. It will filter through the vegetated treatment area. The vegetation takes up those nutrients and prevents them from going into our waterways. We planned and installed 5 prescribed rotational grazing systems this year, or over the last 2 years. And in a prescribed rotational grazing system includes components that I've listed here. So quite a few of the ones that we've done have converted cropland into pasture land. They include animal trails and walkways, if applicable, a stream crossing keeps the animals, it will allow them to get to another paddock or pasture, but it will keep them out of the stream or the waterway. Each one of the systems has a watering system. Now that you fence them in this access control, that fences them out of, again, out of the waterway. And once they don't have access to the waterway or any sort of watering area, then we have to install a water system. We do a lot of erosion control structures. So over the last couple of years, we've done 4 water sediment control basins. The one on the left was just installed a few weeks ago. This is in the Cayuga Creek watershed. We have a 3rd one planned. It was going to go in at the same time, but we ran into an issue where it was planned where the water main is from Seneca Falls intake into the town. So we have to get that located and make sure we're not installing over the top of that water line, but that should happen later on this season. The one in the middle is in the Williamson Creek watershed. I'm sorry, I didn't tell you what water and sediment control basins do. So they actually capture small watersheds. So it breaks up that slope length, as you can see in the left-hand picture. It breaks up that slope length, captures that water, detains it for a little bit, and then releases it through an underground outlet. And then the one on the right-hand side, this is in the canal watershed that then goes into Cayuga Lake. So we did some more erosion control structures. We did 2 diversions and 2 grass waterways. I don't have a picture of a grass waterway, but a grass waterway essentially is just a vegetated area that follows that flow path through a field. But a diversion is installed across the slope. It breaks up that slope length, captures it, and then outlets it to a safe location instead of flowing across the field, as you can see here, where it just makes the field a wet, muddy mess, and then they're trying to plant through there. So it helps prevent that water from going through the field and creating erosion and drainage issues. And then we also installed a rock line waterway. This was a ditch that was just severely eroded, and so we came in and installed this rock similar to what we do in the road ditches. It will slow the water down and keep that soil in place and prevent the sediments from getting into the lake. We did a manure compost facility. So for small operations with small amounts of manure, this producer now will be able to scrape that manure, put it out on this manure pad, let it compost there for a little bit, and then land apply it. We did a silage leachate collection system. So when the silage is stored in these bunkers, it will inevitably leach pretty toxic elements out of it. And this was going right into a water course. So now it flows into the cement structure where it's screened off, the heavy solids kind of settle out, and then the liquid will go through this vegetated treatment area. And the nutrients will be taken up by the vegetation. We did a roof water collection system. So this collects all the roof water coming off from this roof, prevents it from going into the areas that are being used by animals and getting mixed up with manure. So it's keeping the clean water clean. And then this farm actually is collecting it and then using it for other operations on their farm. We also installed a cover barnyard for a heavy use area. So as I explained before, the heavy use areas that we did before had vegetated treatment areas. This one wasn't able to meet the standard of being 100 feet away from a water course. So we couldn't fit the vegetated treatment area in. So we constructed the roof in addition to the heavy use area. And then we implemented over 6,000 acres of cover crops were installed in the county. The map there shows where the locations of those installations happened. And then we did 4,500 feet of an irrigation pipeline for local vegetable CSA here in Seneca County. And then, along with partnering agencies like the Natural Resource Conservation Service, Farm Service Agency, Cornell Cooperative Extension, we will, host several events throughout the county. So over the last couple of years, we've done, 6 youth education events, 7 workshops, 3 soil health workshops, and 6 tours. And speaking of tours, we have one coming up August 22nd. Is going to be another farm tour. We have 3 farms we're planning to go to. We don't have a flyer out yet, but we will share that with CWIO. If you'll pass that along to everybody, you're all welcome to join us. That's all I have. Do you have any questions?
Really impressive. And how many people do you accomplish all this with?
So we have 5 staff people, myself, an account clerk, and 3 technicians.
You're very busy.
Yes.
Yes,
we are.
Thank you for all your good work.
I just have a question. What percentage would you say of your work ends up being farm related versus just, you know, living?
Off the top of my head, most of the work we do are ag projects, so 80% probably.
Got the next one.
Yeah, I just wanted to keep it up. It's-
Okay. And did anyone on Zoom have a question? I apologize for not checking for the first talk. Okay, Tian, your hand is up. You might want to put it down. Okay, all right, moving on. So Dan, is it Teague? Ty. Oh, I should have gone for that. All right, our next speaker is Dan Ty. He's the resource conservationist from Natural Resource Conservation Service. And he's going to talk about some USDA programs and success stories in Seneca County. Take it away.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Give me a second.
Yeah.
Share.
Take it away in a second.
Sure. Great. So yeah, my name is Dan Ty. I'm the resource conservationist for the Natural Resource Conservation Service here in Seneca County. We are a division of the U.S. Department of Agriculture. I do also cover Monroe, Wayne, and Schuyler counties, but I am based here in Seneca with Soil and Water. And I'm going to get into some of the programs we offer locally. Most of them are for agricultural producers, but we do have one for municipalities that is we've been digging into a bit lately. So I'm going to really dive into that one, but let's get started. What was the trick here? There we go. So
4 times.
yeah, there we go, 4 times. So the agency was founded with the Dust Bowl back in the 30s, and we were the Soil Conservation Service. And back in 1994, we were changed to the Natural Resource Conservation Service because we're not just dealing with soil issues, water quality, air quality, all encompassing. Now it's a little. We generally, our planning is based on a 9-step process that starts with determining problems and opportunities and identifying the landowner's objectives. Most of our programs, like I said, are targeted towards folks who have a stake in agriculture and are operating private land. Then we'll inventory resources, analyze resource data, formulate alternatives, make decisions, and help you implement that plan that we've just generated together based on the resource concerns on and around your property. Here's a full list of what NRCS considers to be resource concerns. The ones that are highlighted there are more water quality based, but here's, like I said, an all-encompassing list of what the agency looks at for concerns. So when we get called to a property, it's voluntary. We are a non-regulatory agency. We need to be called out for service. Someone calls and says, hey, our cows are drinking from the stream and we want to do something better than that. And then we'll come out and write a conservation plan and point out all of the natural resource concerns that we identify in your property. And we'll turn that into a conservation plan and then work on implementing that together throughout a certain period of time. Like technical, resources, you can come into the office, we can do historical area photos of your property, soils maps, wetland maps, stuff like that. So here are the programs that we offer locally, like these are our main programs here in Seneca County. We've got the conservation easement program, the stewardship program, which rewards folks involved in agriculture for their existing best management practices. The EQIP program, the environmental quality incentives program, is to help folks to get best management practices on the ground for the first time, stuff that they're not already implementing. The agricultural management assistance program is specifically for urban agriculture for the most part. And then our EWP program is the program that municipalities and forms of local government can enroll in. And that's to help communities recover from a natural disaster, a lot of times flooding and water issues. So we're constantly accepting applications for all of these programs, and we have ranking dates each year, and upon that date, your application is ranked and it's put in a pool with all the other applications in the area. And the more resource concerns your application is addressing, the higher it ranks. If you're addressing soil and air and water instead of just one of those, it's going to rank higher. So the more practices you're planning in your contract, the higher it's going to rank, and the more likely you are to get funded. The way funding works is they start at the top of the ranking list and go until we run out of money for that fiscal year. So folks that are eligible for our ag programs. Now, when I say you're an ag producer, you don't need to be a farm with over 100 acres. We do consider backyard gardens agriculture. A stake in agriculture does not mean you're selling a commodity. We do consider trees a crop. If you have a managed forest land, we consider you an agricultural producer. That is a place we can help you address resource concerns. There are different land uses, the farmstead, cropland. Like I said, we have a big push for urban agriculture right now, so we are considering those backyard gardens agriculture. So if you have an identified resource concern, reach out to our office. So like I said, actively involved, you cannot make more than $900,000 a year. The adjustable gross income cannot exceed that. If you are exceeding that, you should be spending some of that on conservation and not coming to us for money. And then you have to be in compliance with the Food Security Act, which means you're not heavily tilling highly erodible land. You're staying under like the soil loss. We call the T value. Every soil type has a value of should not exceed this much soil loss. And so you have to be maintaining that. And then wetland compliance, you can't have drained, dredged, build any wetlands. So we're going to look back at that stuff to make sure that you're eligible for our programs. This just talks about the policy snips from everything that I just covered. We don't need to dig into that. We talked about ranking pools. So these are the types of things that we've done with these programs around the county. EQIP, which is kind of our flagship program, which, like I said, is helping you implement those conservation practices for the first time. We help you develop a nutrient management plan for the farm, and then help you implement it by installing covered barnyards, waste storage facilities, silage leachate collection systems, stuff like that. A lot of what our soil and water and RCS work very closely together. We're oftentimes helping out on the same projects. So here's an example of where it was an issue, where they were stacking manure and it was able to run off into surface water and leach into the groundwater, and a covered barnyard was installed to collect those pollutants. Again, a silage leachate system on the top left, another waste storage facility down below. We do a lot of cover crops, diversion dishes, grass waterways, strip cropping. There's examples of the grass waterway down below with the strip cropping. We do a lot of cover crops. A lot of grazing plans. I can write a grazing plan here in the office in Seneca County, and then we can use that to help you pay for fence to keep your animals out of the surface water and provide watering facilities so we're not contaminating that water quality. We're the ones that fund all of those high tunnels that pop up everywhere. We consider degraded plant condition and climate limits a resource concern, so we help fund these high tunnels so that you can keep growing so that our local climate is not prohibiting you from growing later into the season. You have to be already growing crops in the area. We can't create a resource concern, which would be taking grassland and turning it into cropland. So it has to be an area that's already being cropped. Pollinator habitat, we have a huge push for pollinator habitat right now. We do cost share on that, and we will develop the pollinator habitat plan, the site prep, the installation and the maintenance. We have a couple of different program incentives to take annually tilled cropland and turn it into grassland or shrubland. You'll get an annual rental payment for that. It's not huge, so definitely have to be wildlife minded, but we definitely have quite a few programs to do that. If we are cost sharing on anything that's related to grassland, you need to stay off of it until August 1st for the grassland nesting birds. As I mentioned, forest land is eligible for NRCS programs. We do consider trees a crop. DEC, free service that DEC offers is they will write a stewardship plan for your forest land, outlining your goals and their recommendations. And we'll take that forest management plan and help you conduct what we call forest health thinnings. Dying ash, hemlock will help you thin that out to stage for healthy regeneration. The stewardship program, I'm not going to dive too much into. It's a 5-year contract for folks who are already implementing best management practices. It's an incentive to keep implementing those practices. And then you just have to do one new thing during the 5 years. If you're interested in the program or know anyone that is, feel free to reach out. A lot of ag producers are already enrolled in it. AMA, I'm not going to dive too deep into either because it is our more urban program. That's a map of the urban areas in New York State. Here in Seneca County, it's a 5-mile buffer on either side of 5 and 20, urban. And then our easement program, the wetland reserve easement. Actually, I think my slides will get into this, but it protects land. You can either do permanent easements. We offer 30-year easements, 15-year easements. And it protects the conservation quality of a piece of land. So we've got the agricultural land easement, which means it cannot be developed ever. I shouldn't say ever because we have different lengths of easements, but it just can't be developed for the lifespan of the easement. And then the wetland reserve easement takes land that was originally wetland and converted into cropland at some point and puts it back into wetland. And we help make that land conversion. We help facilitate turning it back into wetland. And we conduct annual monitoring to make sure it stays in wetland and it's not being redeveloped again. So here are the different WRE easements. We have a lot of wetland easements in Seneca County. Actually, we're one of the highest in the state. So the permanent easements, we pay 100% of the easement value for the purchase of the easement. With the 30-year easements, we pay 50 to 75% of the easement value for the purchase of the property. For the purchase of the easement. Okay, so the emergency watershed program is our program that is applicable to municipalities and local government. It helps communities relieve imminent threats to life and property caused by floods, fires, windstorms, and other natural disasters. It doesn't need to be a federally recognized natural disaster. We can start that process up. And then, these are the various activities we offer technical and financial assistance for: removing debris from stream channels, road culverts and bridges, reshaping and protecting eroded stream banks, establishing vegetative cover on critically eroding lands, repair certain conservation practices, and we do buyouts. If it's a piece of property that every year is getting destroyed by flooding, we're not going to come in every year and help you put a Band-Aid on it. We're just going to buy it from you, then restore it to wetland and land use that's not gonna keep being negatively impacted. So here's examples of those natural occurrences where we can assist with floods, fires, windstorms, ice storms, hurricanes, typhoons, tornadoes, earthquakes, volcanic actions, slides and droughts, quite a few of them, not really applicable right now around here. So there's a natural event and it has impaired your watershed. And it's causing an imminent threat. Imminent threat is the key word here, and I have a couple of slides of pictures of examples locally in Seneca County. But there needs to be an imminent threat to a house or a building, a road or utility, people, the public, or dams and flood control structures. We can't use it to protect timber, orchards, or crops. That's what our ag programs are for. These are for the towns and to help assist their homeowners and landowners. So we work with what we call a sponsor. So that's going to be a form of local government. Someone's going to lead the project, either the village, the town, the county. We just need some sort of local representative to take the reins on it. There needs to be a legal interest or responsibility for the area threatened. So the sponsor there are some costs that the sponsor, it's not 100% cost share, there are costs the sponsor has to contribute, but they can contribute them as in-kind services. If the county has equipment to be doing some of this work, that we count that as in-kind services. All permitting falls on the sponsor, and then operation and maintenance on any structures that we install. These are examples where we cannot provide assistance. The same structural practice 3 times in 10 years. Obviously, there's a bigger issue than what we've been repairing. Existing operation and maintenance, we can't repair, rebuild, or maintain any transportation facilities, utilities, or similar facilities. If funded by NRCS and federal lands, if such assistance, that one's not really applicable. Repair of non-structural management practices such as conservation tillage, repair coastal erosion to beaches, dunes, and shorelines. Those are areas where we cannot provide assistance. And here's examples of eligible practices. So providing protection from flooding or soil erosion, reducing threats to life or property, restoring the hydrologic capacity of a body of water, and being economically, environmentally defensible and sound. This is the buyout program. I'm not going to get too into it, but again, if there are threats from long-term flooding and repeated damage, then this is an option. So here are some local examples. I imagine my time is getting close, but I'm almost through. So this is an Interlaken on Mechanic Street, where it was July of 2021. There was a storm down there that hit Lodi and Interlaken. And here in the bottom right, you can see there's our imminent threat. The stream has cut right to the edge of this house in this business. So we've got an imminent threat of failure there. And so you can see the condition the stream bank was in the top left, it was being severely cut out. You can see the debris that's being landed downstream. And here's what it looked like afterwards. We completed this project last year. We pulled the bank out from the house. That was no longer, there was no longer an imminent threat of failure there. We lined the stream. There's a plunge pool right here. The village replaced the culverts. So we don't have that issue anymore of improperly sized culverts. And here's another example where's the barn? There's a barn, and I'm on the left, I'm standing right at the corner of the barn, but there's a barn you can see in the photo all the way to the right, there's a barn in the top left, and the stream had cut right back to the corner of that barn. Again, you can see the tear out in the stream and all the sediment that's being dropped through. And that's what it looked like after. Again, this one happened last year. And here's one that's coming hopefully in the next month or so, waiting on DEC permitting. But this is on County Road 150 across the street from Lucas. The road shoulder is about to fall into the stream. So this one's pretty crucial. But as you can see I have a picture, the road, someone standing on the shoulder of the road right up there. And just years after years and years, it has been wearing away at the shoulder there. The storm in 21 took out a big chunk of it. We do have to, with this program, we have to tie it to a specific event. So I missed that part. You have to call us within 60 days. We have to be able to tie the damage to a specific event. It can't be, there's a culvert that's upstream that's undersized, and over the course of 10 years, it's caused a negative impact. It has to be tied to a specific event. And that's standing down in there, and that's another look at the side of the stream bank there. So the repair here will be coming, hopefully, again, just waiting permitting in the next month or two, but you never know with DEC. So, standing at the top there, you can see it cutting, you can see the vegetation, but you can see kind of, if you look a little harder, where it's cutting in, really close to the road. There's a QR code, but our office is a couple blocks away. You can Google it. And that's all I have.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And go ahead, yeah. It's good talk.
Yeah, any questions?
Yeah, any questions? Go ahead.
Can you tell me, what's an easement value? How do you establish an easement value?
That is, we don't do easements at the local field office level. They have to go to the state office in Syracuse, so we have a realtor that does that. NRCS is a realtor.
Property.
Yeah, yep, it's the value of the property, and it's determined by your local town offices.
It's a value of the property.
Yeah.
Other questions? Thank you so much. I'll be calling you a lot, I think.
Yeah, no problem. Oh, absolutely, anytime. It's not the full value of the property, it's conservation value. So that, again, it's determined by, we have local realtors on staff. And it ties into the ag districts, and that's way above my pay grade. But, well, you can, I can look at that for it. Yeah.
Okay, our next presenter is Liz Kreidinger with the Cayuga Lake Watershed Network, and she's going to talk about upcoming activities planned for Seneca County.
Roxy,
Yes. I'm supposed to be next?
Mary.
Mary, oh, I am confused. That was just a little foreshadowing for Liz. What's really gonna happen is Mary Jump is next, and she's going to talk about, there it is, the Seneca County Watershed Protection Law outcomes after the first 2 years of the septic system inspection program. And Mary is the Director of Environmental Health here in Seneca County.
Yeah, if you want to just bring that down a little bit. That hopefully section. So this is just a brief summary today about the first 2 years of the watershed protection law. I've had Isaac bring up our page that's specifically for this law with all kinds of references and stuff that everybody can look at their leisure. Just wanted to give you a brief update of where we're at. So the Seneca County Watershed Protection Law took effect April 1st of 2022. The law requires that all properties which have a boundary within 250 feet of the mean high water mark of Cayuga Lake, Seneca Lake, or within 250 feet of the Cayuga Seneca Canal have their septic system inspected every 5 years on a set site. Isaac, if you would scroll, just click on that 5-year inspection schedule link. So it's broken up 2 towns per year. There we go. So in 2022, we started ambitiously with the towns of Fayette and Ovid, because the town of Fayette borders both Cayuga and Seneca Lakes. So that was quite a few properties there. Last year were the towns of Lodi and Seneca Falls. This year, it is the towns of Covert and Waterloo, and those letters to tell homeowners that they're due for this year went out like 2 weeks ago. And I know that they've gotten them because we've received several calls. Next year will be Varick and Romulus, and then in 2020, 2026, it will be Junius and Tire, and then starting 2027, it'll all repeat, you know, they'll go back through there again. Um. The purpose, this provision of the law intends to protect water bodies, watersheds, and drinking water sources in the county from residential wastewater that contains harmful bacteria, viruses, and excess nutrients. You can go back to the other ones, please. Thank you. The second provision of the law is that at the time of any transfer or change of ownership, that's by deed change. In Seneca County, an inspection of the septic system of the property is required. Additionally, the septic tank must also be pumped out at this time. In this provision, the purpose is to help homeowners from unknowingly purchasing a home with a septic system that is failing or likely to fail. We've had this come up the first year of the law. We had a person in the hamlet of Cayuga who called and said, you had somebody come out here, you said my septic system is failing. It's been like this since I've owned the property. I bought it 8 years ago. Well, I said to him, I'm very sorry that that was the case, but unfortunately now this law took effect and you've got to fix it. Didn't want to, but he did. And then he sold the property. So, a little. I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it. I can't tell you how many calls in a day I take. Like I said, those letters for this year went out, and also the late letters from last year. Tons and tons of calls, just because people, oh, I didn't realize, oh, I thought this didn't apply to me. We do get clerks deeds pages from the clerk's office to keep track of the property transfer section of it. So come June 1st, I'll get an envelope from the county clerk with all the transfers from May that could have been in the law. So a little synopsis of what we've seen thus far. There were 351 property owners who completed the routine septic inspection in 2022, which would have been the towns of Fayette and Ovid. 227 property owners did not complete their inspection. And in April, May of the following year, were sent these late letters. The rate of compliance with the initial round was approximately 61%. After the late letters went out, 220 property owners had their septic system inspections completed. The other 7 property owners were called to hearings for failure to have the routine septic inspection performed. At that time, they have the right to come in front of the Board of Health hearing officer and plead their case. Most of them did not even show up, so they were given a $100 fine and ordered to inspect the septic system. Out of this initial round of routine inspections, there were 26 systems found to be in failure, which equates to an overall 7.8% failure rate. These 26 failures were on Cayuga Island. Just as a little fact for comparison, prior to passage of this law, the health department had no direct means to force anyone to repair or replace a failing septic system. They had to be referred to the code enforcement office under the property maintenance law. In the year 2022, there were 234 property transfer inspections performed. The systems also had their tanks pumped out as required. There were 11 systems found to be in failure when these property transfer inspections were completed, which equates to a 4.7% failure rate. During 2022, we received 8 complaints of failing septic systems. All of these failures were confirmed by my department and were required to repair or replace their system based on an engineer evaluation of their current septic system. Moving forward to 2023, there were 216 property owners who completed their routine inspection in 2023. This would have been for the towns of Lodi and Seneca Falls. 92 property owners did not complete their inspection and were sent late letters this month. The rate of compliance with the initial round of routine inspections was approximately 57%. Thus far, there have been 3 systems found to be in failure when routine inspections were completed, which equates to 1.3% failure rate of the 216 inspections for 2023 submitted. Up till about a week ago. There were 185 property transfer inspections performed during 2023 that also had their tanks pumped out. 11 systems of the ones required to do a property transfer were found to be in failure, which equates to a 5.9% failure rate. In 2023, we received 2 complaints of failing septic systems. Both of these were confirmed by this department and required to repair or replace based on an engineer evaluation. As you can see here, we have an entire page dedicated to the law. It answers general questions about the laws and the requirements. There are several useful documents on the right-hand side. We have held 2 septic system inspector training classes since the law took effect. We currently have, if you scroll back up and click on, keep going. Seneca County Certified Inspectors, you had it right, right there. We currently have 28 inspectors on this list between the 2 classes that were given. And we also offered reciprocity to inspectors from neighboring Cayuga County where they had this program for 30 years. So they don't have to take this class with us, they've already taken it. We've had several that from Cayuga County that do travel over here to do the inspections. The law also requires that contractors repairing or replacing systems be registered with Seneca County. That list is right there, the registered contractors. We currently have 32 contractors on the list. They have to register with us annually. Homeowners can apply for a variance from the requirements of the law. Variance application forms are submitted to the health department and reviewed. There are some variances that are automatically issued, such as for reasons such as the property is and will remain vacant for a period of time. It's noted on the form and an affidavit is required. Those are on the right-hand side if you scroll down. Both of those are the variance request form and the affidavit. They're both right there. Or for another reason, they would get an automatic variance. That are on that variance is general waivers issued by the Board of Health. Would be if they have a new system that was installed within the past 48 months and then certified by the engineer. Or for winter weather conditions when we have. All of the variances issued do have an expiration date that we track. So if you say it's going to be vacant until August of 2025 and August of 2020, September of 2025, you'll get something from us saying, hey, this is when your variance expires. What's going on? Do you need to extend it? Are we waiting for an inspection report where, get an update from them? Variances that are not listed on those standard variances that I just mentioned are presented to the variance committee for review. This variance committee is made up of 3 individuals that are residents of Seneca County. The current variance committee members are a former town supervisor, a New York State certified water operator, and a former director of Seneca County Soil and Water Conservation District. After we received a handful of applications, usually 3 to 4, variance committee meeting is convened by this office. The homeowner is notified in advance of the meeting and can attend if they wish. If they do not attend, I will present the application to the variance committee in their absence. If a homeowner isn't present, they may explain to the committee why they're asking for the variance and anything else they would like the committee to know. Any special circumstances, anything they feel might pertain. The committee reviews the applications and can ask questions of either myself or the homeowner if they're present. And then after the committee meetings, the decisions of the committee are mailed to the homeowner so that they have record. If the homeowner disagrees with the decision, they may appear at the Seneca County Board of Health and ask the committee to change the decision before it is adopted. That's all I've got. Any questions?
What are they gonna be doing with all like, failed septic systems and all that?
I knew this question was gonna come up. They are actually They actually applied for a variance early on, which was denied, and they were told to get either engineer plans for individual or work together. Individual septic systems are really not feasible if you've ever been down there, if you're familiar with the area. Currently, the town of Fayette is actually working on a sewer district paperwork related to that, just crossed my desk last week. The town is moving forward because obviously the best answer to an area like Cayuga Island is public sewer. For those of you that aren't aware of Cayuga Island, there's no actual road to get down. It's a boardwalk. And there are 26 seasonal little cottages. I've been down there. I mean, they're all right there. Yeah, it's marshland. So so that's where they're at, is like I said, it just came through my desk like last week, the secret process for that part of the sewer. And that is included on the, I will.
Okay.
Does that answer your question,
I
Tom?
think so, yeah, because I'm curious as to when the possible sewer lines gonna be going through the whole.
Yeah, that'd be a better question for the town supervisor. The town supervisor is aware of this and has been working with us to try and come up with the best solution for everyone. Because like I said, there's not room to put a traditional septic system or an easy way to get equipment in there. You've got to float it out on a barge, quite literally, and then that is, I mean, it's all wetlands. It's really not, holding tank's probably gonna pop right back out of the ground. And then you've got to get somebody in there to pump it. There's not a lot of people out there that I'm aware of that like go around on a boat and being septic. Generally, I've heard of it being done. It's not a career.
Business thing.
I don't know.
So, Darby.
How much staff time does this new inspection program
Oh,
take?
man. Right now, when we just have late letters and letters that tell you you do this year go out, it takes a fair amount of time. We have one sanitarian that started out as a public health fellow, which is a program through New York State that was recently made a sanitarian. She was brought in actually to work on this program. She does a lot of it. I do a lot of the administrative stuff. The hearing process, the variance committee. If I had to put a number on it, that would be tough. Because we also do the septic system plan reviews, like we've always done. So that's part of it too. And we have the septic system replacement plan too. So it's hard I haven't run those numbers, so we have to run.
Just the reality.
Yeah.
And do you have a software program that tracks all this stuff?
We do.
Okay.
We bought a database. It's called Inspect.gov. So that actually the permits that we generate and the late letter and all that can actually be generated out of that program, which saves some time there.
So, okay, I think I'm confused about, it. So is the scope of this everyone in Seneca County or just the people within certain?
The routine inspections are for people within 250 feet of the mean high water mark of Cayuga Lake, Seneca Lake, or roughly 250 feet within from the Seneca Cayuga Canal, Seneca River, whatever. Those are the folks that are due on that 5-year schedule.
Okay.
The property transfer requirement is for all of Seneca County. It
So
doesn't matter if you're on a back road, not near any water body whatsoever.
Well, what if you have neighbors? I mean.
Right.
Well, I mean, why was the decision made to exclude this regular? No.
For routine,
Yeah.
that was a decision made when the law was passed by the Board of Supervisors.
Okay.
They did, from what I understand, there were different options, and that was what they said.
Okay, we'll take these last two questions, then we'll have to move on.
The conference, I know most of the people live on Cayuga Island.
Yes.
And several of them have the propane multiple toilet.
A handful of them do.
And it could maybe make that mandatory and go through it.
It's something we're trying to work with, deal with. It was one of the areas going into the law that we knew was gonna be require more work.
Yeah, everybody.
Yeah. Like in Seneca with the town of Seneca Falls, Fremont Road was an area of concern, but actually I gotta say, from what I've seen, those have come in and been pretty good. Knock on wood, what I've seen thus far has been pretty good.
And Liz, you had one more question?
I just wanna thank you because we have some neighbors that couldn't figure out how there would be a septic system, and guess what? They're getting new septic systems, so thank you very much.
Glad to help, and that's why we have the septic replacement program too that can help folks. We're getting the fourth, disbursement in the near future. The third one only covers Cayuga Lake. The new one will cover Cayuga, Seneca, and parts of the canal. So, and that is it's reimbursement. It's either half or $10,000. So if you spend $18,000, you get 9. If you spend 25, you still get 10. So it's capped at 10,000 per system, but it's reimbursement. You have to submit receipts, all of that. So, but I've talked to people on the phone that are like, you can tell they kind of know their systems like a little on the edge, but they found out about this grant and they're like, yeah, I figure it's probably time. That's usually what they say. Figure it's probably time to have this done. And I think without that grant money, it might not have gotten to that point yet.
Well, thank you so much, Mary. Just like everyone else, you're doing a ton of work here, protecting the lake and our other water resources. Really appreciate it. All right, so our next speaker for real this time is Liz Kreitinger, and she's going to talk about some things going on with the network coming up and some other Seneca highlights.
Just quickly, it's a percent of fair market value based on the soil type in the county. Seneca County's 90%. Seneca, so the easement purchase, it's in Seneca, it's based on your locality and the soil. Seneca County 90% of the fair market value.
Oh, but this is the. We have to stand here, because this is the Zoom.
Got it, okay.
Yeah.
All right, well, this is gonna be quicker. I don't have slides to share, but I just wanted to introduce myself and share some info with you about upcoming events. So my name is Liz Kreitinger. I'm the Executive Director, also known as the Watershed Steward for the Cayuga Lake Watershed Network. We're a sister organization to CWIO. The network just celebrated its 25th anniversary last year. So we've been around for a while. We're a membership-based organization for individuals and businesses, organizations from throughout our watershed that can join on. And our work focuses on education, engagement, and advocacy for the health of our watershed in this changing world, rapidly changing issues, many things that need to be kept track of and worked on and brought awareness to. So towards those ends, we have a few programs. We do our, regular network newsletters. You can subscribe to stay up to date with us online at our website, www.cayugalake.org. And one of our bigger programs that's coming up, we do these twice a year, is our community conference. So you might have seen these flyers when you came in. Feel free to grab one on the way out. Our upcoming conference is going to be on June 20th in Cayuga from 3:30 to 6:30 p.m. This is like a free event. It's open to the public. It's going to be at the fire hall. We have 4 guest speakers who are coming. Tony Prestigiacomo, who's a research scientist with the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, so the DEC, and he's the supervisor of the Finger Lakes Hub. He's going to be speaking about the updated Finger Lakes water quality report with a special focus on Cayuga Lake and especially the north end of Cayuga Lake. That includes information and assessment based on data collected through the CSLAP program, which is the Citizen Statewide Lake Assessment Program, which Bill and Tom are volunteers for. And we have some sites that the network sponsors in Cayuga Lake. There's 4, including some at the north end. We'll also have Jeff Trout, so supervisor of the town of Fayette. So if you have more of those questions about the utility projects going on in Fayette and Seneca County, he'll be there and talking about that as well. And he's also going to be joined by Aaron Carazzini to add information about what the Soil and Water Conservation District is up to. Max Heitner from the Finger Lakes Land Trust will be joining to talk about projects going on in the Cayuga Lake watershed, and successful projects, including in Seneca County. And then Grayson, who is here from the Community Science Institute, will be talking about the HABs monitoring program for Cayuga Lake. So that is going to be great. I hope to see you all there. If you could just register online, then we know how to plan for you coming, but I won't kick you out if you forget to do that and show up at the door. Two other programs I just want to highlight really quickly are the Lake Friendly Living Awareness Month. So regionally throughout the Finger Lakes, all the watershed and lake organizations send a member to this coalition called the Lake Friendly Living Coalition. And every May we celebrate Lake Friendly Living Awareness Month. So right now throughout the Finger Lakes, all the watershed organizations are hosting events and action days focused for community members and sharing information about how people can get involved at home and like make decisions on their own property to do their part in improving the health of our lakes. So our event this year is not actually going to be in Seneca County. I have one going down in Tompkins County at the Plantsman Nursery. But if you're interested in doing a little field trip down to Lansing, the Plantsman is awesome. It's a great spot. I know a few people in this room have already signed up, which is great to see. And they're going to be talking about native plants for healthy watersheds. And if you come, you can get 10% off on your shopping that day. So you can bring some plants home with you. And then finally, for the municipal partners in the room, I do want to mention we wrapped up our Embrace the Lake program. So this is every spring we work with groups, groups of neighbors, organizations, businesses throughout our watershed who want to organize litter cleanups, right? So those roadside ditches, our waterways too, getting the plastic junk out of there so it doesn't make its way down to the lake is really important. And it's a really tangible, like quick way to be like, look, I've done something today, for the health of the watershed. It's a great way to get the year going. And one of the most successful events this year was organized in Newfield. It's actually the second year they've done this. Volunteers worked with the municipality and over 60 people came out and they cleared out over 1,700 pounds of trash from the roadside ditches. So if you're interested in helping facilitate something like this for your municipality, by the way, some of that trash was tires, which were, extra heavy. If you're interested in doing that, let me know, because the volunteer who worked that whole program up would be like very happy to do a presentation for CWIO or for your municipality about how to pull that off next year. So that's all from me, unless anyone has questions.
Questions for Liz?
I may have missed it. What's the date and time for the Plantsman activity?
Oh yeah, sorry, I didn't mention that. That is going to be June 2nd from, I think it's 10 to 11 a.m. It's all right on the homepage of our website. The Lake Friendly Living event, the conference, and then we also have a paddle happening at Myers Park with the New York State Invasive Species Awareness Month. We're doing some sampling with the prison up there. So that's all on the homepage. Check it out. Got people on the way out. I would love if you would put these up in your community. If you have a good community board where one of these could go, that would be very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you, Liz.
Yes, I just want to mention, if you ever been to downtown Cayuga lately, we're having a conference this year. We've got a brand new fire department.
Yes.
And it's a really beautiful facility, air conditioned, lots of chairs. It's a great place, so hope you can make it.